Hey, my people, my people. What's going down, guys? Hope you guys are having a good day. Hopefully, this video finds you in a good place in your night. It's nighttime now, so you already know. Man, I wanted to make a video about the difference between, the version of yourself on a retention streak versus the old version of yourself. So, essentially, the person who you used to be, maybe somebody who's addicted to loading up the websites, maybe addicted to casual sex. Doesn't matter where it's coming from, you guys. The bottom line is that you're releasing too often. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem, is how often you're releasing your life force. You know what I'm saying? That's why semen retention, that's why it's called that, to retain your life force, so that's literally the goal. It doesn't matter how you're doing it, but like as far as masturbation or meeting up with women or being on dating apps or whatever, man, the bottom line is, how often are you releasing your life force, and what's at stake? You know what I mean? What's at stake along this journey, man? What is the punishment for living like that? I want to talk about essentially, it's essentially the benefits of retaining, but I want to, kind of flip it and turn it into what's at stake every time that we decide to maybe bust a nut, or, if you ever decide to going back to, that lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? Where you're busting nuts all the time. Maybe you get into a thing with a female and you guys start having casual sex. You know what I'm saying? You guys know how that is. So the first thing that is at stake, you guys, is your confidence. All right? As soon as you guys start getting into a mode where you're releasing your life force, it immediately depletes you of your confidence, because you lower your testosterone, you guys, and your testosterone is a huge boost, for your confidence, in general. That is like our secret mojo in life, as men, is our testosterone. So as soon as you lower that and you're just, willingly draining yourself, your confidence is going to go down, around women, around other men, basically around anybody. When you retain, you guys, what I like to mention a lot is how you access like a new version of yourself. It's like a new mode to where, you were at a certain point and then all of a sudden you jump up, to here, and it's kind of hard to explain, but the confidence is a huge part of it, man. So as soon as you, God forbid, man, anybody goes back to living that lifestyle, that's what you're going to lose. That's the first thing that I wanted to mention is, your confidence. Yeah, that's at stake. You know what I'm saying? The second thing, you guys, is sustainable energy. That's also at stake, to where, I know you guys feel me, but that SR energy, where you can, work longer hours, you can have longer workouts in the gym, you can pump out more stuff, whatever it is that you guys like to do, creatively, or if you have, whatever, man, if you have your own business, if you have different things that you like to do, you're also going to be giving up that energy, that crazy SR energy that's going to help you achieve more things. So you're going to go back to a version of yourself that, isn't doing as much stuff, right? Because you don't have the same amount of energy, bro. Straight up. It's what you're going to lose, man. It's a huge advantage to someone who retains, is that you have a lot more energy and you have a lot more willingness to get things done. You know what I'm saying? The next thing, you guys, is kind of goes along with the confidence, but it's self-love and self-esteem. For the longest time, I was living like that, and I know that you guys can relate, man. But, when you're loading up those sites and you are just draining yourself of your life force, on a regular basis, it's going to kill your self-love, man. It's going to kill your self-esteem. It's going to lower your power level in general as a man, because you're lowering your testosterone levels. So you're going to be out here basically in zombie mode, like what we like to say, in that zombie mode. And, that's how it is, bro. When you're doing that stuff a lot, man, you basically turn into like a shell of a man, and you're walking around and you're pretending like everything's okay, but everything is not okay, bro, So Your self-love and your self-esteem, bro, goes way down. The way that you think about yourself, your confidence, and your self-love, it goes down because you're releasing a bunch of nutrients. You're releasing all those vitamins. You're releasing that spiritual Wi-Fi connection. You know, your spiritual connection is going to be turned off. All right, your mental health issues that maybe were going away, you know, from retention, that stuff might come back. You know, because being on retention helps all those things, bro. It helps, you know, it heals you. You know, retaining in your life force, holding in your life force, it heals you, bro. So it heals all these different areas of your life. So you go back to that lifestyle, man, all those issues are going to come back, you know? Next thing is motivation. You know, your drive and your motivation to get things done. And also, your creativity, your mind. You're going to have a lot of brain fog going on, you know, and you're going to think that it's your normal operating system. You know, that's how a lot of people are out here, guys, is they're operating in that brain fog mode, in that zombie mode, you know, that we talk about, but they don't even realize it. You know, they're just out here thinking that this is their highest potential, you know, where they're at right now, but they don't realize that they're actually handicapped, you know, and they could access another version of themselves if they decided to retain, you know what I'm saying? So motivation and your creativity, man, your brain is going to be firing off at a lot slower pace if you go and you decide to, man, it's a little windy out here, if you decide to go back to that lifestyle, man. All right, so that's basically it, man. Your brain fires a lot faster, you know, when you retain. You know, your brain heals, your mental health heals. Your brain heals it turns into like a faster computer. You know what I'm saying? Like a computer, you know, that's gotten upgraded with like a new modem. You know, that's pretty much what retention does. You get that new modem, things start firing off a lot faster. Also, man, your creative juices are going to go way down. I just mentioned that, but, you know, being on retention is a huge tool for creative ideas. You know, you could think of a lot of different things and new ideas. You know, maybe if you guys, like I said, if you have your own business or you have different things that you like to create on a daily basis, retention's a great tool for that, man. You know, I always say I didn't start my YouTube channel. I didn't start the podcast. I created all of that stuff after I went on SR. That's what SR did for me. You know, decided, you know, it gave me the oomph to start a channel and then get the creative idea to start the podcast, you know, with Martin. So that's pretty much what, you know, and that's where we are now, to where we're pumping those out, you know, pumping videos out, and this is pretty much my life now. So, and I owe it all to God, and I owe it all to SR, man. Another thing that's at stake, if you decide to, you know, go back to releasing all the time, you guys, is your communication skills. You know, all that stuff is going to go down too. You're going to be putting off creepy, weird vibes because you're, like I said, you're draining yourself of your life force. You're draining yourself of your testosterone. So you're out here pretty much operating with like a low battery, you know, and you think that people think that it's, you know, it's a full battery. You think that you're charged, but you're actually, you know, on E. You're in that red mode, you know, and you think you're operating out here regularly, and it's not working out, bro. You know, you can't make eye contact with people. Your body language is weird. You have anxiety. You know, that's the kind of stuff that gets fixed on retention. You're able to look people in the eyes. You know, you have confident posture. You know, your body language is confident. You know, everywhere you go, you're just solid, you know, you're not in fear all the time. You know, my old self, when I was doing all that, it's like I was like on edge or in fear all the time, anxious, you know what I'm saying, guys? And it's not fun, bro. Another thing that's at stake is, you know, your energy around females and other people, you know, that maybe you would like to get to know, because you get creepy. You turn into like a creep, man. So, that's pretty much what I wanted to say, bro. And when you think about all this stuff combined, you know, your confidence, your self-esteem, your energy, your motivation, creativity, communication skills, eye contact, body language, that's pretty much like your soul, bro. All of that stuff is like, you know, what your soul does, you know, your personality and your soul. So when you think about it, releasing like that is pretty much like draining, yourself of your spiritual side. You're just draining your soul out of your body, when you're constantly doing that, you guys. So, retaining is pretty much like retaining your spirit and getting your spirit back. I made a video about this the other day about how it becomes, you get back to the real you on retention. That's what happens, because your soul comes back. You guys, you get your soul back, man. All these things that I mentioned pretty much equals, your soul. So what's at stake? It's pretty much your soul, like you're just low confidence out here, and just you think that you're operating at your highest potential, but you're actually handicapped and you don't even realize it. All right, so I would really suggest, man, if there's anybody out there that is trying to get on retention and they're maybe a couple days in, really give it a shot, man. Give it a shot, bro. Always, drop a comment if you guys want to talk or ask me a question or anything like that. I'm always, open to chat and chop it up a little bit. So yeah, bro, hopefully you guys got something out of this. What is at stake from releasing and fapping all the time and watching the videos of casual sex, whatever it is, man? What is at stake when we go from retaining to not retaining? What's the difference? So pretty much boiled it down, you guys. It's pretty much, you're giving up your soul, you're giving up your spirit, your personality, your charisma, everything, your confidence. So very important stuff, bro. Super powerful, man. So hopefully you guys learned something from this, man. Much love. I'm feeling pretty wired tonight, so I don't really have much, can't really get much sleep as of now, so I might make another video. Who knows? Me and Martin we got a podcast on the way, but I'm not really sure what he's up to right now, so I'm gonna hit him up and see. But we got episode 112 on the way for you guys, so stay tuned for that on the Unchained podcast, and I will catch you guys later, man. Hopefully you guys learned something from this video. All right, y'all, much love. Catch you later. Peace.